Good morning, lovely people, and thank you for coming to listen to us talk about something that isn't PowerShell, because I think you're probably PowerShelled out by now. Are you going to heckle the whole way through this? Jess, hand. Thank you. Jeez. Thanks to the sponsors, because as always, there wouldn't be an event without the sponsors. If you haven't been and talked to them, collected your swag, got your stickers, can you please make sure that you do so? Go see them, go get your badge scanned, let them know that you're here. So, this is me. I'm the other half of the beard. I'm a psychotherapist with my own practice, 20 years. I use neurolinguistic programming, cognitive behaviour therapy. I've worked with bereavement and addiction. And more recently, I found myself dragged kicking and screaming into the IT industry because I have a very unique view of it from both sides of the very weird fence. I have my own therapists, all of whom have 4 legs, and a really good, pretty watertight NDA, as long as they're being fed. The horses rebel occasionally, but no one listens. And I'm lucky enough to live in the beautiful countryside of the southwest of England. So, passing responsibility of the clicker with the beard.
Ooh. Hi, my name is Stein. I work at Capgemini in Norway. And I have spent some time building platforms and tooling in PowerShell. And today, we wanted to add some more tools to our toolbox. Stephen mentioned the ever-growing ecosystem of technical tools during the State of the Shell. And I want to tell you about a tool that I use that is not technical. And like any tool, it only works when I use it. The window of tolerance. Yeah. I learned about this tool a long time ago. I was discussing, of all things, agile and DevOps concepts with my wife, the love of my life, mother of my children, and she's a very smart woman. She works at a women's shelter or at a crisis center. And at this center, they help both women, children, and men back to healthy lives. And many of these families they help, they have experienced trauma in some kind. And when I say trauma, I mean violence in close relations, abuse, human trafficking, just to give you an idea. So these are serious things. We will not discuss, or I will not try to lecture you about this at all. I'm not a trained professional in that sense. And I urge you to contact a trained professional like Traci if you feel like talking more about trauma. The window of tolerance is a model used in trauma therapy, but it's applicable to our daily lives. It was developed by Dr. Dan Siegel, a clinical professor of psychiatry, and it tries to describe the optimal zone of arousal or stimulation that any person needs to function and thrive in everyday life. The model is pretty easy to understand, it's easy to use, and it does not discriminate against any gender or spectrum that might exist. So are you ready for the tolerance window? Cool. Behold the window. This white box is going to be our window for today. Within this window, when we are operating within this window, we are in a good cognitive state. We are in our flow zone. This is where we can learn and think. The most important thing is that our body and our mind is like one. It's connected. We have a sense of being grounded in the present. We might be open and curious to our surroundings. But the most important thing about this, we are able to self-regulate our emotions, and we have the ability to self-soothe. Basically, we're capable of responding to everyday life in an optimal way. But it's not much of a model if it's just a square. So above this, we have a state called hyper-aroused. It can be known as a fight-flight response. It's a state of heightened bodily energy. You will feel your heart beating and your muscles getting ready to run away from any saber-toothed tiger that might exist. We may experience this as emotional overwhelm, or feeling stressed or panic, of feeling threatened, experiencing anger, and other things. When we cross over to this state, our reactions are more automatic. It's a survival scheme the body has created. So we are basically on autopilot and not really cognitively there. There's a border, though, between the high window and the hyper is called dysregulation. This is where we feel our emotions. We start feeling the emotion. We are still in control, but it's not comfortable. I can experience this as I feel I'm getting angry, but I really can't calm down. So now we have a window, we have a hyper, and a way between them. But if we have a hyper, we should have a hypo, right? It's only fair. And below the window, we have a hypo-aroused state or a freeze response. This is a state of lowered bodily energy. It's in the name, freeze. It's characterized by shutting down or feeling numbness or shame. And again, we have a dysregulation area or border. This is when we start feeling these emotions. Still in control of ourselves, but we are not comfortable. And this is a signal we need to kind of learn to identify. And we might cross over between these during our days. Every day, things happen. And every day might look something like this, right? We are happy, we are safe, warm, we look great, and we feel great. I had a vision of my day being a presenter. Maybe it started okay, but then I found myself a little bit stressed. And after the presentation, I might actually plummet before I recover back in the windows of tolerance again. Björn mentioned this to me last year. It's called it presenter's fatigue, that after a period of stress, you might plummet. And life is not stable. Most of us experience difficulties at certain times during our life, or most of us should actually do that. It can be a project that is difficult, it can be illness or death or COVID. So life is not stable. What happens if we're continuously within one of the hyper or hypo zones? The window might actually narrow over time or become more limited. We still experience life in the fast lane, right? We have the same pattern, we react to the same input, but we might actually experience that in a more stressed way. This impacts absolutely how we can see and react to situations in everyday life. The good thing, every time we manage to actively get out of this state, we can ever so slightly increase the size of it. So to help myself, I need to find and practice the countermeasures I need to get out of this state, get back into my window. And hyper and hypo have very different energy levels in the body. So I might have very different countermeasures. But the goal is the same, to get back into the root. So in a high energy state, a hyper state, I need to get my body to calm down somehow, right? I'm filled with anxiety or I'm filled with stress. I need to run away from this saber tooth. So how do I need to maybe try to remove myself from the situation. Do some breathing exercises to ground myself again. Same thing goes for low energy. You actually need to activate my body. It's a physical thing. Using stairs or using large muscle groups can help you get out of this one. Like sitting against a wall without a chair until you don't until you fall further down or get better. So some of the traits are while we're within the window, we now need to try and exercise or do the countermeasures. We need to practice them. It can be having fun with friends and mentalizing. It can be practicing mindfulness, take time to connect with yourself, get to know your own emotions. It can be taking a break or having a Kit Kat. But the more we practice, the better we become to stay within the wood. So the golden rule, or what we're trying to do here, is to widen the window and stay there as much as possible, because life happens. But it's a me thing. So the window of tolerance is individual for every person. We don't have the same. It's built and based upon our life experiences from childhood until present. And we have not experienced the same things. But we have the same, in this model we have the same model. So we have the window, but how we get out of it and into it is different for everyone. Hyper, high energy, anger, stress. Again, the body is reacting before we do. It's an autopilot. You can feel it in your body. You're stressed, your anger. So you basically need to calm down. It's so easy to say. It's so difficult to do. But that's the thing. Calm down and be able to regulate your emotions. Hypo, low energy. The feeling of numbness. Again, our body is reacting before our mind, and so we need to up our energy level. We need to move around. That is one of the best things. And it's not a goal to get rid of either hyper or hypo. They are bodily defense mechanisms, but we need to practice this in peacetime. My CV used to say that I do great things in a team, and I'm fantastic working on my own, right? We all oversell a bit. The message was that I'm super flexible and use me to get the best of both worlds. The truth is, I do actually prefer to work in a team where I can have my voice heard and make a difference. And some teams are fantastic. They're the best teams in the world. Others are just okay. They do fine. While others, again, are not so good to be in. Or be part of. So why is this? Is it a fantastic vision this team is going to fulfill? Are you working on something you really care about that makes you stay within your borders? Is it just the first team you ever entered starting working? Oh, I'm just here. Or maybe I'm young and I just need the money. I don't really care. It's just a job. But whatever the reason, my starting point is try to create safe teams. Being a member of a team, we have the opportunity to make a difference. So I Googled high-performing teams, traits of high-performing teams. They said there were no AI involved in this one. I know Justin doesn't like slides with a lot of bullet points, so this might upset you. But some of the traits are managing conflict, defined roles, a positive atmosphere. But there are more: morale, optimal productivity, relationships and communication, open and clear communication, balanced participation, dedication, enthusiasm, a high level of collaboration, shared vision, results fanatics, support and challenge, constructive conflict, decide and commit, healthy conflict, communication, inclusive thinking, engagement, diversity, adaptability, psychological safety, and personal excellence, among others. So, with so many traits, where do we start to build our safe team? So, for me, where do I fit in all of this list? Where can I contribute? What can I control? I need to tell you a story about two different teams. The first one, it started out with 3 consultants that had never worked together before, with a large task ahead of them and a very strict deadline. We were going to move everything from on-premises to Azure. And we knew we were super understaffed and we had to get more people to reach the deadline because the data center was shutting down. We had to move. So we expanded the team with 3 new members, highly skilled and really good people. And I had the pleasure to be a team lead for this group. But we had a very strict deadline, as one has. So that was more of an unplanned migration than other projects. But we managed to experiment and resolve all our issues along the way. We prioritized hard and identified the task we needed to solve, and then we did that, and then rinse and repeat. This was possible because the team members were highly autonomous and very skilled, self-managed, but they were also willing to discuss different solutions, and they were killer engineers. The organization we were in wasn't really used to working this way, but we had support from management, and we delivered on all the issues. But with speed like this, it comes not so hidden cost of technical debt. Most of the team, but not all, were on board with this way of doing. We prioritized time and the end goal, and we knew we needed to clean up afterwards. But one of the guys wanted a more traditional approach. Another one wanted a much more cloud-native approach. Both of these would have taken too much time. And we never really resolved this, and the team alienated a valuable member in this process. But we had to continue because we had a deadline. We had the people we had to have. And the core team built a lot of trust in this way of working. So we were outcome-driven. As I said, we had a tough deadline, and speed was everything. The technical results were actually okay, or even fantastic, at least from my slide. We managed to reach our target, about a few weeks delayed, mostly due to the third parties. So we delivered what we were there to do, but at a high personal cost for many involved. So the after effects of our previous fallout started to appear. And for me, a long period of being overwhelmed, stressed out, unsure if we would actually make this deadline. Could we do this? It was injected with uneasy communication, some personal attacks, flame wars on Slack, as one have. It started to take its toll on my own self-esteem and my ability or to cope within my own boundaries. Later that day, or a few years later, I was part of a different team. We also had a massive task ahead of us, but we didn't have a real deadline. We used milestones to plan our task, but we knew that our work would really never end. We would just be onboarding the next team that would take over, as one do. So we knew from the beginning we would never be there in the same capacity over time. In this team, we made room to discuss and to change the way we worked over the lifespan of our team. We had new hires, some that left the team, and with any personnel change in a team, the dynamics changes. By having an open and honest discussion regarding how we wanted to work, trying new things, adjusting our way, we managed to build the team stronger every time. So we discussed non-technical issues those subjects like how do we communicate with each other? How do we communicate with our other teams? We gave each other the possibility to be open and honest. We put a lot of trust in each and every one. We were allowed to do things and ask for help. The team was a mix of young and not so young people, where I am one of the not so young people. And we really wanted to build an open and honest space and worked really hard on this one. And this worked as planned. It was hard work, but we found great support in each other. So the task and the visions for these teams were pretty much the same. Both teams existed within organizations that focused on creating safe spaces for technical teams. We had agile coaches that helped us along the way with how we did things. We had similar ceremonies and processes. So the difference between the team was really not the technical part or the processes. It's more relational. So the experience from the first team made me ill over time. I became a very angry person. But of course, don't admit that to anyone, not even myself. I'm a man. It's okay. It's just something at work. So I started to smoke again. I did not sleep too well. But I know I became a super toxic person for my family and for myself. And at this point in time, I really didn't have any words to describe my feelings. I didn't have the words to put in, this is stress, this is anger. But I did have a body language, and that was screaming for everyone to see. Yeah, I stopped seeing friends. I was pondering a lot by myself and for myself, as one do when you don't have words. And in here lies fear, imposter syndrome, and enough doubt to wonder if this was something I really wanted to do at all. I was obsessed by building walls around me. So at one point I was thinking about maybe I should become a carpenter and build physical walls. It seems to be a key interest. So I ended up quitting that team and quitting that job altogether. But in retrospect, my body told me long before to get away long before my mind ever caught up with the idea. But it ended up in a good way, with me seeking professional help. Not to fix my work life, but to fix me and my own basement. What I found after therapy was that I was very triggered by the dynamics in that organization and things that happened to the team and within the team. But I was triggered by my own past memories and my own unresolved issues. It's very easy to see it now. I didn't see it then. But with the power of aftersight, time, help from a therapist, and from my fantastic wife, I've kind of emerged a better version of my former self. I'm curious when interacting with people. I'm brave enough to take care of my own mental health. I use the window or the route every day in my interactions to map out where I am, and whatever I can do to apply countermeasures when needed. So my goal is to make safer teams, right? Safer to exist in, teams that are good enough for me and that they are good enough for you, that I can invite you in with a sense of ease. I cannot change you. You cannot change me. I can only change myself. I can change how I perceive the world or the information you give me. I can control how I let the mood affect me. And so instead of being annoyed or maybe even offended, I can now brush it away and accept that this was not really meant for me. Maybe you're having a bad day. Because I'm here in my window of tolerance and I'm having a bloody great day. So maybe you want to join me for a walk. Or even better, maybe you want to hear Traci talk.
Oh, power.
PowerPoint.
So, first up, I know how difficult this has been, revisiting something that was really not very pleasant in your life and bringing it here and being able to speak about it. So thank you, because that was from the heart. And thank you for your woot, which just sounds like a cyclist. But hey. So I'm going to do buzzwords. I'm going to do big things. I'm going to talk about positive team dynamics. But the words to what actually does a positive, healthy team dynamic look like? I guarantee everyone here will have a different perception of what that looks like. There's obvious negative issues that, again, we'll all have very different versions of. And every one of you will mix those positives and negatives together and create your ideal. A really good team dynamic is like every other relationship we build in our lives. It doesn't just happen. It needs a framework. You wouldn't start a friendship or a relationship without a framework. It needs effort. Relationships don't just work. We have to work at them. It needs listening and being heard in equal measure, because you can listen and not really hear, and you can hear without listening. It needs patience, because it's not going to happen overnight. It needs awareness of the people around you and an awareness about yourself, about where you are in your window today, because that changes how the team dynamic functions. It needs understanding, because you're having a bloody good day today, tomorrow maybe not so much. And if you don't understand the people around you and yourself, the relationship will fail. And it needs recognition, because that's the cough I was trying desperately.
Just do it.
If you don't recognize someone's efforts at building that team, they'll stop trying. If you don't recognize your friends making an effort to organize a night out, if you don't recognize your partner cooking you a nice meal, at some point they will stop. So recognizing the people around you will build your team. There's so much more. I could do an hour on all of the things that everybody brings to a team and how they work dynamically together. But how can we find a less complex approach? It's my job to understand dynamics between people. You need to know how to build a team without having this huge list of requirements. So when we take a random group of people that we want to make into a team, or an existing team that has new personnel, people have moved on, and there's no structure, the focus, as you said in your experience of the less good team, is often going to be project-driven. A team is brought together to achieve an end. There's a goal. Everybody's working towards that. There'll be a hard stop. There'll be a deadline. It's really easy to only focus on that. You don't really have to think about that, because it just is. This has to be delivered by the end of July. We know this, don't have to think about it. But when you do that and you only see the end goal, you start to overlook the people that are achieving that end goal. We are all unique. We are all individual. Monty Python. There's an age. Gotcha. And we all bring our own unique set of skills and experiences. We bring our own bias, because that's who we are. It's a part of who we've been made into. We bring personalities, a myriad of personalities. There's quiet people. There's the ones that work hard, the ones that say nothing, the big mouthy beardy ones that shout every time anything needs to be heard. And all these people are being squished into a team. By doing this, by just putting a group of people together, we're not going to create a team in anything other than name. When we're outside of our work environment, we choose our own friends. Nobody chooses them for us. Nobody says, these are the people who you will have as your friends. And we all have separate and different groups. We'll have the IT nerds that will go and talk about coding for hours on end with. We'll have the golfers, the cyclists. We'll have the couples friends. And they're quite separate entities, because they, again, are unique and different individuals. And most of us are not daft enough to try and create one supergroup out of all those friends, because we know how disastrous it would be. So why do we do it in a work environment and expect it to work? You're not always going to be friends with everyone. That just doesn't happen. That's not a reality. But you have to learn how to not be friends, but to still function as a team. Your team has a core group, the group of you that are in those meetings or in that office together. But there's also a much wider group. Nobody's ever really insular. You'll have people from across the organisation. You'll have the C-levels, you'll have the customer, you'll have the person who signs the checks. It's never just that very tight central core. So in order to foster a positive team dynamic, we all have a responsibility. It's not just the manager's role to make it happen. The team members have to help. It has to be a joint effort and a meeting of minds, because otherwise resentment will grow and the team will self-destruct. So what stops a team working? Everybody knows this one, because at some point someone will have given you a task that you cannot make happen. It's unrealistic. Expecting a huge project to be delivered in an unfeasibly short period of time or without the support you need, that's not going to help. No one's going to feel good about that. Saying that it's got to be done by Friday when the team's already busy doing something and you don't have the time or the capacity, that's destructive and it's not going to work. This one is a part of many of my mental health talks right now. With post-COVID working from home, always on availability is crippling. You have work hours. Assuming that you should be answering emails at 3 a.m. or sending a response to someone from the beach when you're on holiday with your family, that's just not going to work. And we're all human. We all make mistakes. They happen. If you're not allowing room for mistakes within your team, if you're not presenting learning curves, if you're not taking growth opportunities from those mistakes, your team is going to die. This one's a favourite of managers. Let's move the goalposts. Let's change the focus. Let's just walk in one morning and say, this thing that you've all focused on doing in that direction for the last 3 months, no, I want to go over there now. And you all have to come with me because I've decided. That's not going to work. You can't expect a team to adapt to something they're not invested in. You need that structured planning. And again, it comes from management and from the peer group within the team. The next couple of slides and what we're going to do now applies as much to your personal life, to your mental health, to your well-being, as it does to the way you function within a team. In your workplace, there's consultants, there's DBAs, there's people that do all these different things, but there will always be an expectation. You don't go into the job thinking you're going to go flower arranging. You're expected to be able to write codey things. That's my technical terminology for the day. You have to have agreed upon terms, because no one's going to go to work not knowing how many hours do I work? What do I get paid? When do I get paid? Do I have holiday? Is this my job or is that? Should I be doing? Nobody would do that. So you can't approach a team in the same way. And you can't approach a healthy balance in your personal life. You need to create a positive, productive environment, because humans thrive, work towards better teamwork, better communication. Incorporating discussions in the workplace or when you form a relationship that sets out these behaviour expectations, your job responsibilities. Make this a part of your onboarding process for the relationship, whether business or personal. You ensure that this is documented, ensure that everyone has access to it, including management, and use it. Use these terms that you've agreed to frame the relationship within your team. Clear, accurate job descriptions, measurable measurable objectives that you're regularly reviewing. We do this without thinking within our personal relationships. We regularly review where that friendship is at. We should be regularly reviewing us. Same applies in a team, in a work environment. This is the responsibility of everyone. The best example I can give you, I have to attribute to the beard, because he's quite passionate about this one. You all have meetings. We all have a lot of meetings. All meetings must have an agenda, because then everyone goes into it knowing exactly what to expect, exactly what you're going to need to talk about. There's a hard stop, because this is the list of things we're discussing. Meetings should always end at 5 to the hour and start at 5 past, because going back-to-back meetings is so destructive to the team, but also to our mental well-being. Give that gap. And maybe your daily meetings don't have to have everybody in them. Maybe we only need 3 or 4 key players today. So making sure that the entire team is not sitting through a meeting playing Sudoku on their phone because they are not involved in the meeting, but someone said they had to be seen to be there. As a manager, allowing your team this freedom, allowing someone to say to you, I have other things to do today. Can we do my bit in the first 5 minutes, put it on the agenda, and then may I leave? It makes your team feel valued. Again, personal life, work life, working from home, working within an office. It is really important to set clear boundaries. All our boundaries are different. The things that some will accept, some won't. And people don't read your mind. It's really easy to get offended when someone oversteps your boundaries. But if they're not aware that they're doing it, you really have a problem within a team that will fragment in a very short period of time. Value your time. So this might involve limiting the number of clients you see in a day, scheduling regular breaks, ensuring that your time off is respected, whether as a team member taking it or as a manager approving it. Use scheduling. There's this wonderful tool called the internet and these magic things called computers, and you can write an email that needs to go to another time zone at 3 a.m. and get your machine to do it so you don't have to be up at 3 a.m. to send it. Respecting your availability, respecting your teammates' availability is going to build a personal relationship within the team that will be the foundations. It will underpin the strength of the team. Make sure that you're using this scheduling so that work isn't interfering with your life, but within work, your personal time is still valued. Use do not disturb features. Use Calendly. Block out time. Make sure that you're not available when you need to be doing something else. Use your work hours as that framework. Use that as the boundaries. Because if your work hours are 9 to 5, being expected to do something at 9 p.m. is not within your boundaries. As a team member, support your team members around you to stand strong on this because it matters. And as managers, encourage people to stop at the end of their workday. Make sure that everyone is taking breaks. Use this to support your morale. Productivity will always grow within a team that feels rested and valued. As managers, the breaks you insist on are just as important as the work that you expect. Making sure that minimum time off requirements are met, encouraging rest, and avoiding burnout is always going to be better than dealing with it when it happens. And probably one of the most important things about being in a team, as new people come into your team is going to follow the culture of its leaders and managers. You can be a team member and you can still lead, because your example is what will set the scene for that team as it grows and as it goes forwards. Again, personal life, professional life. If you don't have a line of honest, transparent communication, you don't have trust. Productivity will thrive if you can communicate. Set up clear channels to communicate, whether it's a Slack channel or emails or WhatsApp or, Signal. Make sure that everyone has a means of communicating. Embrace the diversity within your team. Encourage perspectives that are different from yours and include these people into an environment so that everyone within the team is respected. Celebrate the uniqueness of people and make sure that you as a manager and you as team are aware of any barriers. So if there's a cultural or a language barrier or difference, find tools to stop that being a problem. Provide training and resources and help everyone to improve their communication skills. This one is overlooked so often. Somebody is going to think, even if they don't say it out loud, why should I tell you you've done a really good job? Because it's your job. You're supposed to do it. Well, recognizing it as a contribution to the team changes the way you're all looking at it. It stops being just an obligation and becomes an overall success for the team. Publicly acknowledge people. As a manager in your meeting, say, Jess, you did amazing work on that project. Can always rely on you. You're a diamond. Also take time, and again, I'm sorry, Rob, to a writing implement and a bit of paper, the old-fashioned thing we used to use. Just write a little thank you note and just say, you did really great on that job. Cheers. Because it matters. And then encourage peer-to-peer recognition. Encourage your team to support each other, but have a employee of the week every week that wins a crate of beer. Because then you're all invested in each other. Celebrate those milestones. Buzzwords. I don't expect anyone to take these away. This is one of those wonderful psychological terms, so leverage intrinsic motivators. We're all good with that? Move on? Right. It's an approach that will really work, and it's not as complicated as its title perhaps sounds. It has 3 elements: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Give your team members and your co-workers the freedom to make decisions about their work. Don't tell them exactly how to do. Don't micromanage people. Give them a chance to own their responsibility. Allow them to set their goals within the overall goal. Let them decide how to complete them because they know how they're going to work better than you do. Google had something they called their 20% time initiative. And I'm aware Google are huge, and they could give their employees 20% of their work hours to do their own thing. That's where Gmail came from. So it kind of worked for them. Mastery is something that you should all be supporting. You should all be growing. You should all be sharing knowledge. Career advancement is something that most people are looking for, and your industry changes so quickly. Keeping those skill set fresh is really cool. The best examples I have, and I'm biased, about the tools you have at your disposal to increase that exposure to new technology. It's going to be user groups and conferences like this one. Not just for the experts that you see on the stage teaching you how to make PowerShell change the world, but by the conversations you have over lunch, by the chat you had with that person at coffee about the way they use that piece of code. Make sure that your team has access to training and qualifications. Encourage learning. And purpose. The purpose is not the end result. The purpose is not having that database automated to the cloud fairy by the 31st. That's not a purpose. That's a job description. There's a company in the States called Zappos, which I really like just because the name's cool. And they sell clothes and shoes. About 15 years ago, they changed their mission statement. They now aim to deliver happiness, which sounds really daft. They have the highest retention rate of customers in the entire US. Their employees stay longer, do not change jobs and rise within the organisation because they have a higher purpose to their work. So, agree terms and expectations, set boundaries, keep talking, recognise effort, do the intrinsic motivators thing. But, and really important, practice positive selfishness. And you can all really think about that statement because it should make you change the way you look at it. Being positively selfish means we're looking after ourselves. We're taking a day off. We're going on a short break. We're going on a holiday. We're going to go and soak in the bath and lock the door. Super important. And do it without guilt, because not doing anything is actually a good thing. And the dull bit, good diet, good downtime, have a hobby, exercise, go out in the fresh air. And don't forget your mental health and the mental health of the team around you. Make sure that you have access to resources, employee assistance programs, and make sure the stigma attached to accessing these is as tiny as you can make it. It's still there, but it's getting smaller. Make conversations about mental health as normal as talking about the weather. And give people duvet days. Don't be scared to take a duvet day or a sofa day or a mental health day. It's not rocket science. Nothing that we've talked about is new. The Woot probably is, because that's very cool. Nothing I've said is new to anybody. You all know all of these things. This is just a reminder to put all of those tools that you already have into your toolbox and use them. Use them as a team member, as a manager, as a person who signs the checks. My bottom line is always going to be, look after yourselves first, because you are no use to anyone else if you've burnt out because you didn't look after you. Then look after your team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us your time.